So let me go to the lies that begin to develop about relationship. So one of the things that happens when a child isn't able to connect, they feel the loneliness that comes out of that and how painful that loneliness is. And they go, anything is better than being alone. So to me, the truth is being alone and free is better than being in a relationship where you're still not connecting, where you're controlled, where you're abused, where you're disrespected, where your needs aren't being met. So being in a relationship isn't the answer to loneliness. Connection with healthy people and with yourself is the answer to loneliness. And so to believe that anything is better than being alone can set you up to get into very unhealthy relationships. But this lie is appealing because when you are alone, and let's say you're a single parent, so you've got all the demands of the needs of the children, the financial strain, the loneliness of making these decisions every day without any support, you can go, yeah, anything's better than being alone. That sounds very appealing. And then when you add in how exhausted you are, it's just like, yeah, anything's better than being alone. But think it through. Go to that bigger picture of, yes, but to get with the wrong person, that's only going to make more pain. I can be with a person but still not connect. The issue is not the relationship. The issue is connection. And because of my childhood, I probably don't know how to connect securely. I don't even connect to myself. So I need to start with connecting to myself. Then I need to connect to some healthy activities. Then I need to face my insecure attachment issues and connect to people who are safe in non-romantic ways. And I need to learn to do that regularly and develop tools for connection. Second lie, in order to be lovable, I must be happy all the time. And so we just mentioned that one in the shame lies, but it's a common relationship lie that is in codependency. So a related lie is any emotion rather than happiness inconveniences the other person and makes the relationship more difficult. But if I'm happy all the time, that keeps the other person happy. That keeps the relationship harmonious. So I need to be happy all the time. But if you stop and think about it, there's often a deeper fear than just a logic. There's a fear that if I show other emotions, the other person will reject me. The other person will go, whoa, I don't like this person. So the only way people like me is if I'm happy. So there's a fear piece that you need to be able to face. So this is how many people approach relationships is I see somebody, I like them. How do I get them to like me? Well, I'll just be happy, funny, keep everything light. I'm not going to show anger. I'm not going to show fear. I'm not going to show sadness because that just might turn them off. So a lot of people begin relationships operating off of this belief. But here's what I want you to understand is the truth. Any healthy relationship, both parties can be fully human and show all emotions, experience all emotions. That's the only way to have true, healthy intimacy. It's based on true authenticity and vulnerability. The others might look like what feels like a great relationship, but there's not a depth to it. That's what you have to be aware of. Then connected with that, lie 3, in order to be lovable, I must earn it. I must put my needs aside and make the other person's needs paramount. So I must have to become smaller and they become bigger. So my needs now become 20%, theirs become 80%. And then I must become what they want. I can't be authentic. I have to become a clone of what they want in order to get love, in order for them to love me. And then for some it goes further. I must take responsibility to keep them happy for their emotions. So if they're angry, I need to fix them. If they're sad, I need to fix them. If they're upset, I need to calm them down and make them feel better. So they're not able to do whatever they want, and I will take care of their emotions and make sure they're happy. Because if they're not happy, they might leave me. And if they're not happy, it's a reflection of me. So I can't be happy unless they're happy. Lie after lie that comes out of that shame that now is trying to fit. What does that mean in relationships? So I must put my needs aside, become small, make their needs big, take care of them. All lies. Sets the relationship up to be unhealthy and to fail. Then with that, I must do their responsibilities. They'll really like me if I do a bunch of stuff for them and make their life easier. But what often happens is now I enable them to be irresponsible. I enable them to do very unhealthy things, but I take away the consequences. And yes, they like me in the moment, but they're losing respect for me, and the relationship is going downhill. In order for this relationship to work, I must constantly put out sexually in order to keep them happy. I must have a beautiful body in order for them to stay interested in me. So you're basing connection around sex and externals, not around true authenticity and intimacy. I must be willing to do whatever they want, even if it goes against my morals and values. And so again, the truth is, healthy relationships, your needs matter just as much as mine. We will work together to make sure both of our needs are met. Other truth, healthy relationship, both people are authentic. It's not about being smaller. It's about being true to who you are, accepting each other, learning to work together. So important. Lie number 4. My partner should know what I need without me having to tell them. Now, many of people got this coming out of complex trauma, where parents basically said to children, you should have known. And it's like the child is expected to be a mind reader. And they bring that into the relationships, that they should anticipate their partner's needs. They should know what their partner's needs. That's what a good partner does. And so partners will sometimes throw that back at them and say, if you really cared about me, you would have got to know me well enough to know what I needed. Yeah, there's an element where I get to know my partner well, and sometimes I can sense their need. I can talk to them about their need. But the reality of a relationship is both of us need to communicate honestly what our needs are. It's not about the other person being a mind reader. It's about me saying, here's what I'm going through, here's what I think I need, and then looking at, okay, what's your part, what's my part in getting this need met? It's not about you should have known and done everything that I want you to do. So healthy relationships regularly discuss each other's needs. How are you doing? What's your part? What's my part? Are we meeting each other's needs equally? If it gets to a point where the focus is only on meeting your needs and mine are being neglected, that is no longer a healthy relationship. So in very practical terms, what many couples find it helpful to do is on a weekly basis and even daily basis to have little discussions on how are you doing? What are your needs today? Are you able to meet your needs? Can I help in any way? On a weekly basis, go out, do a more in-depth, deep dive into each other's needs and how you're doing, and that whether your needs are being met equally. That is such an important part of healthy relationships. Lie number 5. Good relationships don't require boundaries, or love has no boundaries. And again, this is a common piece of complex trauma. It's a common misunderstanding around love, that if you love somebody, you're always there for them. You never say no to them. You're willing to make sacrifice after sacrifice for them. And there's an element of love that, yes, you meet the needs of others. You do make sacrifices. You're willing to do that. But what you realize is that in a healthy relationship, I'm not the only one making sacrifices to help meet your needs. You're also making sacrifices to meet my needs. If this is just going one way, then that's not healthy. That's not love. That's using a person. And so if I'm giving to meet your needs, but you're not giving to meet my needs, and if I'm doing stuff for you that you should be doing for yourself, and all of a sudden say, no, I'm not going to meet your needs because I need to take care of me today, and I need you to help me, or I'm not going to meet your need because you should be meeting that need, that is not being unloving. That is saying we've drifted into unhealthy dynamics. This boundary is trying to get us back to healthy. So love is actually a series of boundaries around what is healthy. We don't lie to each other. We don't cheat on each other. We support each other and are honest with each other. We communicate boundary after boundary after boundary. And we also recognize that we need connection time, but we need a bit of space. And you need boundaries around sorting that out. You have your interests, I have my interests. You have some friends, I have some friends. We need to be able to support and help, but not to the point where we begin to threaten our connection and our intimacy in our relationship. So boundaries is a key part of love. They define healthy. Lie number 6. Healthy people are boring, dangerous, and are probably judging me. So what happens in many complex trauma homes where everything is very unhealthy is that they have to disparage and denigrate healthy people. And so in complex trauma, there's a lot of chaos. And they go, look at those people over there. They're so boring. They go through their little routines every day. Wow, boring, boring. And that's a way of denigrating them. Or I don't think I'd want to be with them. I wouldn't know what to expect. They're dangerous. And so that happens. And so what happens then is the child, that's what they grow up in. That's what they hear. So that's part 1. Part 2, their relationship template is with an unsafe person. It's with a narcissist. And so that's their normal. That's what they get used to. That's what they learn how to manage. So now for them to go into adult life and meet a safe person, it doesn't feel safe. And then they hear their parents say, see, those aren't safe people. And they begin to believe that healthy is unsafe. And healthy relationships with healthy people is actually a bad thing. What I want you to realize is that's an indoctrination from very unhealthy people. And there's a shame element that goes, they would never want me. They're probably judging me. They probably look down on me. I doubt that they do, but that's what your shame believes they are doing. So be aware of kind of the complexity of that lie and how subtle it is, but it's very common in complex trauma. And it leads to people sabotaging healthy relationships. So understand that when you do get a healthy relationship, it will feel unsafe for a bit because it's not normal. It will take a while for that to begin to feel safe. You got to go through a transition time. Another lie that is huge but very subtle, and that is, I should be happy with a relationship that gives me a few crumbs of love. That's probably the best that I can get. This is the conclusion of a child with deep shame who's never experienced consistent unconditional love. So they don't think they deserve unconditional love because of their shame. So rather than having no love, it'd be better to have a few crumbs of love. That's probably the best I'm going to get. That's probably all I deserve. So they get subtly drawn into believing that then I should be willing to accept an abusive relationship and stay put in an abusive relationship because I'm never going to get anything better. This is the best that I'm going to get. But that thinking doesn't account for the damage that you're going through and adding to the existing damage you've had from all your trauma by staying trying to get a few crumbs of love. After a while, you're not getting any love. You're just getting pain. You're just getting abuse. You're just getting more hurt piled on what's already there. You're being used and manipulated, not loved. So the answer to shame is not trying to get a few crumbs of love and putting up with a ton of abuse to get it. The answer to shame is learning to take care of yourself, meet your own needs, learning to connect with yourself. Start there. Heal yourself first before you go looking for crumbs of love in romantic relationships. Line number 8, if we're in a relationship and you're not happy, I must have done something wrong. Must be my fault. I'm not good enough. And again, we've referred to this, but it's so common in complex trauma that children are basically trained to be codependent. So if dad's not happy, it must be my fault. So there's a false guilt that is developed. But more than that, I must put my needs aside and focus on them and their needs and make them happy. That's the only way there's going to be peace in the house and harmony in the house. I got to be smaller. And if anything goes wrong, it's my fault. So the truth is, what you have done in a relationship may have influenced the other person and caused them to get angry. But you're not responsible for what they do with their anger. So if they lash out and say, it's your fault that I'm angry, no, you influence them. Now they're the one to deal with their anger. It's not you that's causing them to go on this rant and lash out. That's their choice. That's them responding to their anger. That's all on them. So be aware that, yeah, I influence people, but then what they do in response to the emotions that come up is all on them. But please be aware that if you were raised to feel guilty every time your dad got upset or your mom got upset and that it was somehow your fault, you've been trained with false guilt as your default setting. And so now, without even realizing it in relationships, if there's tension, if the other person is upset, you can find yourself being guilty, feeling guilty, even though you're not, and you might not even be aware of it at first. That's how subconscious that default setting is. Line number 9, if you set a boundary with me, you're rejecting me. So what I want people to understand is that's very limbic brain reasoning. So when somebody sets a boundary with me and says, no, I can't see you right now, that hurts. That feels like rejection. It feels like rejection. So the limbic brain goes, it must be rejection. That's limbic brain reasoning. No, it might not be rejection. It might be they're busy doing something else. It might be there's very legitimate reasons why they can't see me right now. So just because it feels like rejection does not mean it's rejection. But it goes deeper with complex trauma. You see, often what happens in complex trauma is a child's behavior gets equated with who the child is. So you did a bad thing, so you're bad. You failed, so you're a failure. So what can happen today is you set a boundary with me, you're rejecting my behavior possibly, therefore you're rejecting me. And you still blend the two in your mind, and that's how you equate it. And so it's so important to begin to realize I have to learn to distinguish between, are they setting a boundary with my behavior but not with me? Because that feels like rejection, but it isn't rejection. It's just asking me to change the behavior that's hurting them and hurting their relationship. If they're setting a boundary with me and they're coming from a healthy place, a place of love, they're doing it not to reject me or be cruel. They're doing it because they want a healthier relationship with me. It's motivated by love. Line number 10. I should feel love at all times. So if I'm in a relationship, an intimate relationship with somebody, I need to feel in love with them constantly. That to me is, again, such a limbic brain thing. And our culture's kind of bought into that love is a feeling, this warm feeling that I just feel all the time. As soon as I see you all the time and with you, I just have these warm feelings. That is so far from reality. That is almost silly. But let me just back it up and give you some context on it. A child who is a limbic brain person, because their cortex hasn't developed yet, they feel love. That's their initial way of experiencing love. They feel adored. They feel valid. They're validated. They feel warm feelings because of that. They get their needs met. They get hugs. All of those things cause them to have feelings of love. But what is supposed to happen as the child grows and develops is they begin to internalize that, and they begin to go, I know I'm loved because I've consistently had my needs met. I consistently get hugged when I'm sad. I consistently have parents who connect with me and are there for me. So I know now that I'm loved. That's a fact. So now I can be away from my parents for a few days and I don't have warm feelings, but I still know I'm loved. And so what you begin to realize is that love then starts with a feeling, but then it's supported by facts of constant behaviors that meet the needs and protect the child. It's based on evidence. Now it gets internalized, and I don't need all of the emotions now because I know deep in my soul that I am loved and they will be there for me. So it moves from an emotional experience to very internalized based on actions of the other person. So a person that comes out of complex trauma, they can go into relationships and still be very much limbic brain and still think they need to feel all these warm feelings all the time. And they fall in and out of love, all of those things. Begin to realize that's still very childlike love. Part of growth is beginning to be with somebody who consistently backs up loving words with loving actions. You experience it, you begin to trust it, you begin to internalize it. Then the feelings come and go. You're not dependent on the feelings because you know the facts. Well, thanks for being here. If this was helpful, please like, subscribe, share. It means a lot to us. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next week.